Hi, welcome to My Little Paintbrush. I'm Sarah, and today we get to paint Ariel and Flounder. Love this painting. It's so simple, has lots of color. You can change it up however you like, and remember, this is a recording, so you can take your time, paint at your pace. If you need to pause or go back, you can. That's the beauty of a recording, right? So let's get started. I have a couple of paintbrushes I'll be using today. You use what works for you, but I have a large flat and then a smaller flat and a detail brush. These are going to be my favorite. I also have a jar of water and a napkin handy. All of my paint is laid out for me. I like to separate my white into two piles for this one. Just makes it a little bit easier. So you'll notice here all my colors laid out, my white separated. Just makes it easier as I'm painting to reach for everything. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to warm up with our background, which is our watercolor, and I'm going to start with my larger flat brush. We want to put it in some water just to loosen up the bristles. I just tap it off on my jar. And my watercolor is a turquoise mixed with some white. So I like to scoop up some white here and mix it into my turquoise. I'm not going to use all of it. I just mix a little bit of turquoise at a time. That way I can decide how light or dark I want it. Okay, so I like this color. That's about right for me. You can keep pulling a little bit of that darker turquoise or more white if you want to. And let's just get going. You have to go for it and warm up. I'm just going to start here at the bottom, painting around Ariel and Flounder. I'm going to be as careful as I can just so I don't lose my outline. But it's okay if we accidentally paint inside of our image. Not a big deal. One of my favorite things with painting with acrylics is if I accidentally paint inside or get a color I don't like, it's an easy fix. Here we go. So I'm going to get close to my image without painting inside, and then I'll show you here how I get kind of that water stroke and movement in my painting. So first I lay down this color, and then I take my brush and I put a little bit of white on the corner like that. So just a little bit. And I'm going to face that white towards my image and brush around my image with the white towards Ariel's face. Okay, and that's just going to brighten up the edges. And then you can even take some of this white, brush it in to the water, and it makes it look like there's a little bit of movement. So it's not completely flat. I'm going to keep going here. Use the tippy toe of your brush. That's the pointy part right here. We call it the toe, to get up into those smaller areas. So turn your brush and use the toe when painting in those tiny areas that we don't have to switch brushes. But if that's hard for you, you can switch brushes for sure. I just like to try and use the same brush as much as I can. It's loaded with paint. We also encourage our artists to paint around the edges. So all of the bottom part of our canvas here is going to be the watercolor. So if you want to reach down right now, you can paint along the bottom of your canvas and fill it in. I'm just going to brush in a little more of that water stroke around my image, just like that. Now you have this small portion here, just between their foreheads. We're going to fill that in too. Just brushing it in back and forth, loading my brush with lots of paint. Don't want to be too shy because you might get little pockets of canvas showing, and that just means you need more paint. You may need more water too. Remember, with acrylic paint, it loves water. So make sure that you keep your brush damp. And if you need to dip it again into your jar or cup of water, you can. Get a little more. And again, I've added a little white to the corner of my brush, and I'm facing it towards Ariel and Flounder and brushing around. This is optional. You don't have to add that white to your brush. I just like the glow it gives, and it kind of helps to focus the viewer on the image. So when we're looking at it, that light draws our attention to the image. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little bit of these white swirls around the nose. Give it a little bit of movement, see that? And swirl it around and up. Again, that's optional, just if you want to. Brush it in, smooth out all the water. Now we have one more little spot here above Flounder and then above Ariel. I'm turning my brush and using the toe to paint that corner all the way to the top. And you can reach up and paint the top of your canvas here as well. But use that toe of your brush to paint those tiny areas. And then here's Ariel just above her head. I'm gonna fill that in. And there we go. Looks so good, right? So we have all the water in there. Now just step back and look at it, see if there's any other white you want to add. I like to add a little more so it stands out. So it looks like a little bit more movement in certain areas. Put it right there under their chins. And I like to do a little more above their nose. I'm gonna just brush a little white. You can use a detail brush to do this too if it's easier. Like a smaller brush. I like to just give more light wherever I can to brighten up my canvas. Looks pretty good, so I'm gonna let that be now. Let's rinse our brush really good. Clean it out. We're gonna start next with Ariel's face. So while the water's drying, we're gonna start filling in Ariel and Flounder. And Ariel's skin tone is gonna be made with some red, yellow, and white. And you can decide how you want the skin tone to be, or you can follow me. It doesn't matter. The shade, you can change it up to whatever you prefer. You're the artist, so if you want to change the skin tone, go for it. I'm gonna start with white though, and a little bit of red. Mix those together. You wanna start with just a little bit. Okay, because it does, but that red takes over really fast. Okay, so I'm gonna get this really light shade of pink first. Just like that. And then I'm gonna add a little yellow. Then you can keep mixing until you get the shade you like. I think I want a little more yellow in there. There we go. Now we're getting there. Now the yellow is going to make it more peachy. The pink will obviously make it more rosy. So you'll kind of have to decide what shade you want Ariel's skin to be, if you want it more rosy or more peachy. Okay. There we go. I kind of like that tone. And mine's more peach. And I'll go ahead and start painting it and see how I like it. If I want to lighten the shade, I will. We can always add more white, or if I want to darken it, I can. Let's put it on there and see. Looks pretty good to me. I like it. Okay, so let's start filling that in. All around her cheek and her hair. I'm just going to brush it in. Come around her chin. And make sure we take out any thick paint. We want it to be nice and smooth. Now remember, you want a nice amount of paint so that you don't get those white pockets all over, right? Gotta fill it in. And go around the eye if we can. It's really tricky to stay in the line, so we're just doing our best. I just kept the same brush, but if you want to switch to a smaller brush for this, you can. I like my medium flat for this. Go around her nose, her little lip there. And we're going to get as close to the outline edge as we can, but remember the outside edge, because you're going to do some outlining, so don't worry too much if it's perfect. We're just doing our best. You have to remember it's a painting, not a print. We don't expect it to be perfect, right? That's what makes painting so fun. Get to see all the different brush strokes and personal touches. There we go. Okay, let's move on up to the forehead. Here's your fun eyelashes. I'm going to brush around it as best I can. There we go. We're going to come down around her eye. Just like that. See how I curved it in just a little bit by her cheek outline? And around the front of her forehead. Use the toe of your brush to get a nice smooth line. And I try not to pick up my brush as I come down, just to smooth it out. Go around the eyebrow, hair. There we go. Almost got that all filled in. Her lashes, you don't need to worry too much about being perfect there because you're going to fill those in. You just don't want to lose your outline. So I use the toe of my brush to go between each of my lashes and around the other side of my eye. There she is. Looks so good. So we have her skin tone on there. Fill it in. I'm just brushing over it, making sure I have everything filled in and smoothed out. We don't have to come back later for any of that. Just want to make sure it looks good. We have a few highlights we'll do, but we want that skin tone to be on there drying for us. Go. Anywhere I might feel needs a little extra layer. Paint. I'll just put it on. Clear it up. There we go. Love it. So there is her skin tone. It's all done. Hopefully you love yours too. Let's rinse our brush. Get ready to do Flounder's first layer. So his layer is yellow. So we're gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna pick up some of my white over here, put it here in the middle, and add a scoop of yellow to it. Mix those together. I like to start with a really light buttery yellow for Flounder. And you can always add a little more yellow if you want it darker. There we go. So I've got Flounder's buttery yellow ready. So we're going to fill him in next. Start up here at the top of his head and come around. And it kind of hooks there for his nose. Yellow shows everything. So if for some reason you need to cover something up, just know you might have to do another layer of yellow. Yellow usually takes a couple layers. Fill all that in, go around his eye here. Okay, and around his mouth, because his mouth is going to be red or pink, whatever you prefer. So I'm going to come around and do his little lip there. Brush it out. Let's go right around his eyebrow, but you can see his eyebrow right through my paint, right? That is one thing with yellow. It's very transparent, so you can see right through it. That's why if you do need to cover anything up, you can. You just have to do another layer of yellow. Okay, let's go down this edge here. Circle around, because that's going to be blue. We get a lot of yellow in that, our blue is going to turn green, right? So I'm going to try and stay outside the lines as much as I can. So it'll fin here, and it goes right off the canvas. So you can paint along the side of the canvas too. And let's just circle around the bottom of Flounder, trying not to pick up our brush to get a nice smooth stroke. There we go. Miss Sarah goes out of the lines a little bit too. It's very normal. And it's okay. Makes it fun just to see how all of it comes together. Love it, right? Okay, now one thing you can do if you want a little extra shading is put a little bit of this dark yellow on the corner of your brush like this, just on the corner. And I like to go along the outside edge just like that. This is just if you want to, not something you have to do. I like doing it just to add a little bit of texture to my painting and dimension. I'm going to come around the nose here. And along the bottom. See how it just draws a little bit of attention to Flounder there. Makes him look a little bit squishy. I love that. Okay, come around the side here as well. And a little bit of a shadow there. We call this floating at our studio. You just float the edges with a darker shade. And it's a little tricky, so it's totally optional. It's just if you want to try it. I think that's it though. We are done with the yellow. We're just gonna let it dry like that. He looks awesome. I'm gonna rinse my brush now. And let's go and do Ariel's hair. Just give Flounder a minute to dry before we do more color on him. Let's go work on Ariel. So now for Ariel's hair, I have red, and I'm going to add a little bit of white because whenever we're using acrylic paint, we want to add some white if we can. It helps it go on better, helps the paint not be so transparent. It also glows a little more, has a shinier texture. And then when I'm mixing my red with white, I add a little bit of yellow to it for her hair because she has some orange in her hair. At least that's what I noticed. So I like to add a little bit of that yellow as well. So I'm going to mix that in with my red. Ooh, I like it. Looks good. Okay, and then let's start up at the top. And as you're painting, you know, Ariel has big bangs, right? That swoop around. So I go in the direction of her hair as if I'm brushing it. So I'm brushing up and around with those bangs in the direction I think they're flowing on her hair. And that will really help your painting look like it has some movement in it. All those brush strokes are going to go that direction. So I'm going to move my brush as if I'm brushing Ariel's hair, giving her those big, poofy, fluffy bangs, right? That she is so known for. All the way around, just filling it in all the way up. So we have Flounder's little fin here sticking out, right? So I'm going to go around that. Looks a little bit like a hook. And then swerve her bangs around. It's almost in a smile shape there. And then around her head. Like that. There we go. Now once I do that, then I can go back to shaping her hair. Ooh, a little bit of her skin on there, huh? Okay. It happens. Just go back and fix it, and you can paint right back over her skin tone if you need to later. So again, I'm going back and filling it just the way I think her bangs are flowing there. All the way around. And then you can reach around and paint the side of the canvas too, where her hair goes around the side. There we go. Looks so good. Okay, let's get the top. It kind of curves in a little bit there and right off the canvas. There we go, just like that. Perfect. I love doing her hair. It's so fun. I'm just going to take that hairbrush, which is my paintbrush, and brush it out, right? Now she has some strands just coming here on the side of her head, huh? So we're going to reach over here and just brush those in for her. Make sure we fill it in. And again, you can reach around and paint the side of your canvas right there. Now she has some of her hair coming right down here at the bottom of the canvas. See that? Fill that in too. Perfect. There we go. We got her hair on there. Now I'm going to switch really quick just to my little detail brush. See, it looks like this. And I'm going to do her eyebrow because I have her hair color right here already mixed and I want them to kind of match. So I'm going to switch now to my small detail brush and fill in her eyebrow. And it hooks around. I'm starting at the bottom point and curving my wrist to get that point and then filling it in. I love to outline things first. Makes it a little easier when I'm painting. If I outline it and then fill it in. Gives me that smoother edge. There we go. So we have her eyebrow. Looks awesome. And now let's take our detail brush while we have it out and let's mix a little bit of her hair color with some white for the tongue. See that? Add a little white there, and you can make it as pink or red as you want. You can decide. I'm just going to come right down here to where her tongue is under her teeth right there. Curve it around in a rainbow shape just right under her teeth. And right along her smile. Fill it in. There we go. And we'll do the same over here with Flounder. While we're painting those tongues, we just fill Flounders in as well. First I outline it just like that. And then I fill it in. Got Flounder's little tongue. Perfect. Okay, let's rinse our brush. And set it aside for just a minute. And let's go finish Flounder. We just need to put his fins on there. And we have two different shades of blue, right? So we're going to use the same blue, but I'll add more white to get the lighter shade. So I've got my white here, and I'm going to add a little bit of blue to start with, because I can always add more, and this blue is really strong. Phthalo blue can take over. So I just add a little bit at a time, just like that, to make sure I decide if I want it darker or lighter. I like that, but I need to rinse my brush a little more. I have some red in it still from Ariel's hair. Wipe it on my napkin. There we go. Now let's get a little more blue, mix it with our white. See how that looks. A little more. That's looking better. Okay. Like that. All right, so let's start at the top. It's always easier to start at the top, right? Okay, I'm going to fill in this first fin here at the top of the head all the way down. Start at the top, brushing it down to the top of Flounder's head. To the other side, I'm leaving the middle open right now because that's going to be a darker shade of blue. And you can switch to a smaller brush. I have a small flat brush that I'll probably switch to here in a minute. You do what works best for you in this small space. You might need the smaller brush. And then we're going to come down to the fin, and we'll do the two outside shapes for the fin. Curving it around. It's okay if you get in the middle a little bit because your darker blue is just going to cover it up. Not a big deal. Okay. There we go. So now we have our lighter blue. So now let's get our darker blue on there. Oop, I forgot one more lighter blue. This part right here is also light, right on his head. So we're going to come down. Don't want to forget that. I knew there was one more I was missing. So this is a lighter blue. So we're going to come right down and curve it around. There we go. There's our lighter blue. Now this is the smaller flat I'm going to switch to. Makes it just a little bit easier to do all the smaller shapes. Okay, and we're going to use a darker blue now, but I'm still going to add white. So I just add my darker blue to my lighter blue. See that? Just so it's a little bit darker. All right, now let's start at the top again and just paint the middle. Fill that in with our darker shade. Come down the middle, trying not to pick up my brush. Always kind of tricky, huh? So we just do our best. Filling it out, brushing all the paint so you don't have thick clumps. There we go. Perfect. So now we have that center done. And let's do the front. It comes right over into Ariel's hair, huh? Try not to pick up my brush and come around just like that. Do it in the front part too. If you accidentally get some in her hair, it's okay. You can always go back with some red, cover things up. Not a big deal. Just doing our best. Pull it in all the way to the bottom there, right along the top of the head. There we go. Looking good, guys. Okay, let's do our bottom part. Right down the center of our fin at the bottom. Brushing it out. I just like to make sure I brush out any thick clumps. Okay, and you can go around the edge or the top of that and then the side of your canvas. Go back over, make sure it's nice and filled. You can always add more layers if you feel like you need it, okay? You get to decide. I just like to make sure all my paint is brushed through. There's no thick clumps. Everything's blended. I like it. Looking good. Okay. There's also one thing you can do if you want. You can float the edges. So for our older artists, we teach them how to float, and it is something that a lot of them can do. So if you want to do it, you just put a little bit of that darker blue on the corner of your brush. You can brush around the edges of Flounder's lighter shade. But again, that's just optional. It's only if you want to. See how it just adds a little bit of dimension to your painting. Just darkens up those edges. So some of our artists love to do that, so I'm going to show you how, but you don't need to if you don't want to. I'm going to go ahead and do it all around some of these edges. There we go. Do it over here on this side as well. Come along the top, right along that top edge. See how it just darkens it slightly? And the other side. That's it. You don't have to be too picky about it. It just gives it different dimension there. A little bit of shading, okay, and color. So now I'm going to rinse my brush. Because now we're going to work on our details. Get our details on there. And the first thing we're going to do is the shading in Ariel's hair. This is the trickiest part, and I want you to use either a flat brush or a detail brush, whichever you feel most comfortable with. Because what you're going to do is just add black or a darker shade of red along the lines that you see here in Ariel's hair. Okay, and this is just if you want to. I like to use a flat brush, but some of our younger artists use a small pointed detail brush and they just follow it like they would a marker along those lines. Okay, but you can see here I have red or Ariel's hair on one side and a little bit of black on the other, and when I brush it kind of fades into my red. See that? Okay, so I'm going to take my flat brush, face it down on each one of those lines, and as I brush along the line, it adds a little bit of low light there. Yep, that one. Okay, and our next one here follows the curve of the bang. And I just brush it in, just like that, all the way to that edge. Just shows off where that hair goes, right? And if you get too much of the black and it bugs you, no problem. Just put a little more red on your brush and brush over it. Not a problem at all. Okay, then we have another one here. Perfect, it's gonna brush up and around towards Flounder's. There we go. In there, that's sticking up. Okay, so even if you can't see the outline, you can follow right along with me. Now this last one, I like to start right at the top of the head. Take the black and follow it up. I need a little more there. So I'm starting right here, top of the head, taking the black, following it along the top of the head, and curving it around. See that? There you go. If you need to brush over it a couple times, you can. Takes practice. Takes some practice to figure this out. And that's why sometimes a detail brush is easier for some of our smaller artists, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, now let's just follow along the bottom of the hair here. Kind of gives it an outline and some shading. Okay. There it is. All right, and then I have one more swoop just right there. Not super noticeable unless you want it to be. Okay. Awesome. Take off a little bit of it. So if it gets dark like that, you can just wipe it off, put a little more red on your brush. There we go. Brush it in. The fun thing with acrylics, there's just so much you can do to change it up and make it any way you want. Okay. And then you can brush any low lights you want in her hair up here. Okay, and you can also put some here on the bottom as well if you want to. I didn't do too much, I just did a little bit. Like that. I kept it smaller there at the bottom. Just gonna brush it in. I did do the edge, so I'm going to go along the edge here with my brush and a little bit of dark. Then you can darken any strokes you want in there. Give her as many as you like. hair is different every time I do it because you just never know where your brush is going to take you, right? There you go. I love it. There's her hair. Do the top as well. I'll outline it in a minute. Okay, but let's let that dry for a sec. Good job. You did awesome. Just gonna let it dry. Finish up the eyes. Let's see. It's gonna blend this one in a little more right there. There we go. Make sure that color's blended in there. Sometimes I'll leave strokes without realizing it. Okay, our eyes are all outlined for you, right? So all we need to do is make sure that this part is white. So if you need to, you can take a detail brush, put some white on it, and touch up anywhere you need to on the eyes. I don't necessarily paint all the white in my eyes because I like my canvas showing through, but you can just fill the whole thing in with white, brush it in there, especially if you need to cover anything. This is the time to do it. Fill it in. Okay, now once the white is done on the eyes, rinse your brush. And you can either use a detail brush or you can use a small flat to do the circle in the eye. I'm gonna go ahead and use the detail since I have it right now in my hand. Okay, and again, I like to outline first. So I'm gonna outline my eye, the center part. Make sure you add some water to your black. It really helps when you're doing lines to have a damp brush and very thin paint. So I like to add quite a bit of water to my black before I do any lines. You want it a little more inky. Okay, here we go. So I outlined it first and then I filled it in. There she is. She's starting to come to life. We're going to see her here in a minute. And then let's do Flounder. I outline it first. See that? And then fill it in. There we go. Just looking at each other. This is one of my favorites. So cute. Such good friends. Fill that in. There we go. Now there they are. They're looking at each other. Then I'm going to add a little more water to my black. Okay, I want it nice and thin. So I'll show you here. I'm adding water to my black and stirring it. So I dip it in my jar of water or cup of water and I stir in that water to thin it out. Makes it so much easier. Okay, so let's start outlining. We're going to go to the top of our canvas first and work our way down while our eyes are drying. So I'm going to come up here to the top and I just outline the top of her hair here. It's coming right off the canvas. See that? Then we'll come around the edge. Just cleans it up, right? And I don't outline everything, just some things that I want to draw attention to and make sure look good. So this outline here, if you wanted to, you come all the way around like that. That's why you can either use a line brush or you can float it. Up to you on that. Okay, and then let's outline the front of her head. Clean up that nice edge. Come down towards her nose and just kind of let it fade out. Then we're going to do her nose. up and around, right towards Flounder. There we go, so cute. Now let's do her mouth around her teeth. And again, you can paint those teeth in if you want to. I just left it white from my canvas. We're going to go around her lip. And I did outline her tongue and her teeth too. Just like that. And then let's do her cheek here, her chin. Perfect, there we go. Now for her nose, it's actually not too hard, okay? We're just going to add a little rainbow shape right where it starts to split off away from Flounder. Looks like a triangle right here. You're gonna add a little rainbow and then a smile next to it. See that? And there's her nose. Not too hard, huh? Now let's let this dry a minute after we come down the front of her hair here. Make sure that's all cleaned up. Anywhere you want to add a little more dark, you can. But I'm not going to do the eye just yet. I want this dry. So I'm going to go over and do Flounder now. Outline Flounder. I am going to outline a little bit of her hair right here, just to get that edge smoothed out. There we go. Now let's go do Flounder, and again we'll start at the top, right? And work our way down. And do the top first, curve it around. I don't outline all of it, I kind of fade out a little bit. See that? You can outline all of it. We have artists that love to just outline everything. Do the bottom part. Okay, we'll do this little section here to show where it separates. Along the top. Just kind of go a little bit over and then let it fade, just like that. Now we've got to do the top of Flounder's head. So we're going to come around here, curve it, and let it fade out. He's yellow, so everything shows, huh? It can be tricky. There we go. Now let's do Flounder's nose. Now when you are painting Flounder's nose, you've got to give him some shape. Okay, so we're going to come around. And as you come around the top of his nose, keep going. Just like that. See how it makes kind of a rainbow all the way around that nose, right? You've created a rainbow. And then to make his nose look like it's squishy a little bit, you're going to add a little rainbow next to it right behind. Just like that. Just helps it look like it's scrunching up. Okay. We're going to come around that nose and back up by the mouth. Perfect. Now let's finish his lips. Under his tongue. Comes up. And then I did outline the top of his tongue too if you want to. We'll do the bottom of his chin right here. So cute. We'll do a little bit here along the top of the blue. And curve a little on the bottom. Give it a shadow there. Okay. Oop. A little shaky on that side, huh? There we go. Right. Now we're going to curve it right here where his little fin is. Give him a nice big happy smiley fin right there. See that? The fun smile shape. And then I outlined a little bit, curving around. Awesome. How cute is that? Now let's give him a smile right along the top. He's gonna look happy. One smile there, and Ariel the same. We're gonna give her a little smile at the top. Her mouth right there. I love it. All right, now we're just gonna finish up these eyes. And Flounder's eyebrow is black. So when you feel like you're ready, you can go outline his eyebrow too. Remember, we outlined first and then fill it in. So I'm going to curve around and then fill in the eyebrow. Great eyebrows, right? There we go. Almost a hook shape there. Okay, so let's let Flounder dry. We'll come back and finish his eye in a second. Let's go and finish Ariel's. Let's finish her eye. Okay, now first I did a little bit of outlining on her eyebrow, just so it would match her hair. I'm gonna go around just the top part and a little bit at the bottom, just like that. That way it kind of matches her hair a little more, huh? Okay. Now first with the eye, let's outline it. First I'm going to come over here and go around this edge because her eye is dry now, so I won't smear it, I hope. That's the goal. I'm going to go around that edge just like that. And we'll give her a little bit of a cheek here like she's grinning. It's going to come out just slightly. See that? Well, it looks like she's got a smile happening. And then you're just going to fill in her lashes. I curled them at the top. So I'm going to come around and curl my brush up. See that? You can curl them as much as you want to. And then fill it in. Curl the top. And just depends on how your brush is, right? It can be thick, it can be small. I did them pretty thick just because it's fun to have those thick eyelashes. Curling them around. Here we go. Got her big lashes happening. Now we'll go do the same thing to Flounder over here. We got to do around his eye. Do that first. Now, then we will give him a fun smiley cheek too. And come around, come out away from the eye a little bit and curve it like a rainbow. And then his eyelashes. He doesn't really have eyelashes though, right? We just fill that in up there. It's big eyelid. He does have a little eyebrow though. So let's give him his little eyebrow just above. Or not eyebrow, little crease, and his just above his eye. There we go. Look how cute. Love it so much. I think I got all the little details with the black done. Ooh, good job, you guys. We're going to do some bubbles and highlights and sign our name. You guys are awesome. It's looking so cute. Now with Ariel's eye right here, I'm just gonna curve it slightly. See that? If you ever have anything where you have it's too thick or you're not super happy with it, just add a little bit of paint. Take it right off. So easy to do. There we go. Okay, see, these bubbles are really fun to do. They're not hard. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it. So I'm going to take a small flat first, rinse it, make sure it's super clean, and I'm going to put a little bit of white on the corner of my flat brush like that. And my first bubble, I'm just going to do one right under Ariel's chin. I'm putting my brush down and I'm spinning it in a circle, and there's my bubble. See that? I'm going to do another one here under Flounder, and you can do them as big as you want, but you see how I'm facing it down and spinning my brush in the circle, and that's giving me a bubble. So just do the white on the corner. Make sure your brush is damp. Now we're going to do a smaller one down here. I'm just going to spin my brush. Cute. One more. Let's do one more here under her hair, between them. Cute, just like that. Now another way you can do a bubble is you can take a line or a small skinny brush like this, okay? And you can just do the shape in a circle with your small brush, and that works great too. Now once I have put those bigger bubbles on, I'm going to flip my brush around, dip it in my white, see that? And I'm going to stamp my bubbles. So you can have a couple of them anywhere you want. Put one there, put one right down here. Then we'll come up, put a couple of them here. You can do bigger ones, smaller ones. Perfect. I'll squeeze in a little one up here. Love it. Okay, now let's add the highlights to their eyes. Kind of a little reflection, and we're just using the back of our brush again. I'm going to stamp 2 dots, one bigger, one smaller. They can be the same size too, of course. 1, 2, there we go. Oh, there they are. Now they're looking right at each other. Very last thing I do is my highlighting. And we love to highlight because it brings a lot of light to our canvas and draws attention to the image. So any chance we have, we add a little bit of light, but not everyone likes to do the highlighting. So this is completely up to you. The way I'll highlight is I take my flat brush and put some white on the corner like this, but you can also use a small detail brush to do those lines, just whatever you prefer on that one. But I'm going to face my white up on the hair here. Start at the top, and I'm just going to go right along the edge. See how it just draws attention? And then let's do it on this one here. Brush it around. Give her some light there. Do another one here. You can make it even darker if you want. I always start a little bit light, just so I can decide if I want more or not. Because you can go back and always add more. There we go. Now let's put some in Flounder on top of his fin here. Swerve that around along the top here. I also added some along the edge. Anywhere I can to bring a little light there. See how it just draws attention to them a little more? And along the bottom of the fin there. Cute. Okay, now all that's left is putting a little bit of light along the face. I do it along the front of the forehead. Just like that. Not super noticeable. And then I'm going to put some along the top of the cheek to show where her cheek is coming up and grinning. And of course, along the top of the nose. Put some anywhere you like. Do the same with Flounder's nose. We're going to put a little bit along the front of it. See that? Along the top. Down the front. Front of his head here. Got too much on that one. All right, we'll just brush it out. There we go. A little light there. And then we'll put some on the cheeks for Flounder too. There, and right here on the bottom. And along the back. I think that's it, guys. I think we got it. Did we get all of our highlighting on there? Love it so much. Looks so good. Perfect. All right, last thing, and very important, is to sign our name, right? So I'm gonna get my detail brush, pick your favorite color, because as an artist, you know, we've worked really hard on this painting, and we wanna be sure that everyone knows we are proud of our work. We always leave a signature. Even if it's a smiley face, your initials, thumbprint, we've seen it all. And we love it. I'm gonna put my signature right there. And thank you for painting with me today. I hope you had a lot of fun. Please tag us, #MyLittlePaintBrush, so that we can see your work too. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.